Welcome to Stories from the Center of the Universe, the podcast about the human experience.
Luqman Jabber, welcome to the Center of the Universe, man. I appreciate you coming out tonight.
Thanks for having me, Paul.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. All right, so you are New York born, spent a little bit of time in Carolina, but you've spent what I would say your formative years in your adult life in Richmond.
That's correct.
What are you up to these days?
These days, I have my own player development business called Basketball and Life Lessons. So it's an opportunity to teach the game of basketball and the game of life to youth and adults. So it's pretty exciting. I'm also the director of camp operations for the Maverick Agency. And with the Maverick Agency, we do military activations, basketball camps, football camps, all sports, just across the continental U.S.
And when you say activations, tell me more about what that means.
So we do free basketball camps, 1 day, full day, where the kids come in and they kind of earn their stripes. Even though it's free, the instruction, I believe, is top of the line. Having the armed services on site adds a different element to it, and it really moves the day, and I think it moves the kids as well.
It's a full day. So walk me through and these are teenagers primarily?
Teenagers between 14 and 19.
Okay, so what are they experiencing in that day?
So before they even get their T-shirt, they have to do the chin-up challenge. And once they complete the chin-up challenge, and we give awards and stuff like that, so whoever does the most at the end,
right,
we recognize them just for coming in ready to go. So after they get their T-shirts, they go to a dynamic warm-up or the ACFT, and they work them out pretty good for about 10 to 15 minutes. After that initial workout, we talk to them about leadership and accountability and different things like that, and then we get into the camp day. The rotations throughout the camp day are usually about 30 minutes, so they're in stations for about 30 minutes, and then we regroup together and we have another conversation. So throughout the day, typically it's basketball, and then it's life lessons, essentially.
And the acronym, and I know it's Maverick Agency, but the acronym for the other thing that you do spells ball.
Yes. Yeah. So all ball.
Yeah, I didn't want to miss that.
Yeah, absolutely. So with all ball, I've been doing it pretty much full time since 2014. I had done it part time prior to that, but from 2008 to probably 2014, I was coaching at Virginia Union, and of course, it's only so much you can do as far as development and training of kids at a certain age because of NCAA rules and regulations. But once I finished coaching and my contract wasn't renewed, I decided to devote my time into something I had built many years before. So while I was overseas in Saudi Arabia playing, I was developing my business plan for what I wanted to do kind of post-basketball career. And it just so happened the last time I came home, my wife and I decided to have more children. We had already had 3. And at that moment, I kind of made a decision to stay, and I went into coaching right away. Became an assistant coach at Virginia Union, and I was kind of not finished playing, but at the same time, it's kind of the sacrifices you make as a father, as a friend, as a husband, different things like that. So I actually, going into my 3rd year as the assistant coach, I got a job offer to go to Morocco. So I stepped away that year, and if snail mail was a thing with contracts, I could have swore they snail mailed it because the contract never came. So I took that year and I just started doing player development. In the meantime, I was doing some
So you never went to Morocco that time?
I never went to Morocco. I really, really wanted to go. They just took so long. It was like 3 months later, contract came. I'm like,
yeah, it's too slow.
dude, I'm doing something else.
Yeah, I'm
right
moving
now.
on. Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of just let that go and really started. Okay, now I think I ended up at U-Turn. So
Over there off Staples Mill.
Right.
That area.
So
Yeah.
Capital City Ballers is an AAU organization. Again, central to the idea of impacting to the youth, not just basketball. And my good friend Tyreek Wallace, who was a standout player at University of Arkansas. He also came out of the George with cloth and played for Coach Robert Booker. And, you know, him and I and his sister started the Capital City Ballers. And we were over at U-Turn, we were training, we had teams that were playing and competing and stuff like that. So that's kind of the space I was in. And then that March, April, I got a call about, you know, interviewing for the head coaching job at Virginia Union.
Which is a big deal because Robbins had retired, and I don't remember who followed Robbins, but they were talking to you right after that, right?
Yeah, so Coker, who's, you know, was the assistant coach for Coach Robbins for, you know, 30 years, was my, you know, assistant coach when I played under Robbins as well. So it was kind of like, and I started with Coach Coker. So when I was an assistant, he was the head coach. So when I got the opportunity to interview, I was like, you know, kind of conflicted because, like, you know, this is my guy. Not only did he coach me, but we were working together. And, you know, it was a point where they didn't want to renew his contract. So I sent him for the interview, and they offered me the job, and I took the position. Not only for, you know, I didn't take it for the hype, you know, but I really wanted to learn what it was about, to kind of sit in that seat.
It's a big job in the city of Richmond.
It's a big job, and, you know, the CIAA is a really, really tough conference. And, you know, you walk into Virginia Union and you just see banners. So the expectation is set, you know, pretty much before you, you know, compete on game day. So first year started out, I thought, pretty good, bringing in my own guys and different things like that, trying to figure out my coaching style. And I still had a lot of, like, playing tendencies in me. So I don't think I was 100% like just looking at the game through a coach's lens from the sideline. You know, as a player, they always said I was coach on the floor, but as a coach on the sideline, it's only so much you can do. And I think we finished that year 15 and 14. Winston-Salem State beat us twice that year, one in the regular season. I won't blame the officials, but we had a 5-second call in their place, and the guy was at least 10 feet off my guy. And we had to play, you know, to win the game. So, and then in the tournament, we end up losing by 1 as well to them to kind of move forward to that next round. So it was a really good year for a first-year coach at 30 years old.
Yeah, you were young, and you'd done some assistant coaching at Union, but you'd never been a head coach.
Yeah. So we get into the second year, and my best player from the first year is ineligible. So we kind of start off with adversity, and we just kind of push through. We kind of like survive the year, and then we get to the tournament, and we're playing Johnson C. Smith in Charlotte at the Hornets Arena, and we have my best player is a freshman now. He redshirted. He's a freshman now.
He's your guy.
Anderson.
He's your guy, right?
He's my guy. His first game out against Morehouse, he has 31. So we in the tournament. We in this back and forth, and we're coming down the stretch. Maybe 12 seconds left. They score. He comes down. He gets the lane on left side. goes up, hits the shot off the backboard, guy slides under him, they call an offensive foul. So not only did they call an offensive foul, he fouled out on that play, and he dislocated his finger. So we go into overtime, and we end up losing, a close one in overtime. So it was, a bitter end to something that I think we had started to gel together as a group, and for it to end like that was kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
And then the last year was just, it was a mess. So.
But you learned some things in that third year.
I learned a lot. And really just connecting with people. I think now I would say to coaches that you have to coach the person to get the player to, operate at its maximum capacity.
And they're all different.
And I found myself coaching players to do things that players should do, and not the person. And I think that has helped me in my business and the way I connect with individuals, because I get kids from all different backgrounds that have all different types of stories that, things are not going great at home. Things are going great at home. I'm having a rough game. I'm in a slump. So I deal with all types of personalities, and just trying to reach the person allows me to reach the player, so.
And it can be magical once you've made that connection.
Absolutely. So I've seen some magic.
Yeah, that's
definitely.
Cool. All right, what is it about basketball that is like dominated your life? I mean, you've been a part of it since you were a little guy, right?
Yeah. So, as a youth, I played soccer, played baseball, played football. And I grew up with, at the time, it was 6 boys. I know it was a lot of us. So it was always competitive. It didn't matter if we were Nerf guns or trying to hit a spot on a tree. It was
competition all the time.
Competition. I think basketball for me wasn't a size thing. It was about energy and effort, and then playing smart. You can hand somebody the ball and they could just run hard. Where speed isn't necessarily a winner in basketball. Size doesn't guarantee you to win in basketball. So I was more of a student, and I think basketball kind of appealed to that part of me. And once I really started working at it and saw how I continued to grow, it's like, whoa, I like this, because it teaches you a lot. And I think some of the lessons I've learned at a young age help me in the future. And it's crazy because some of my experiences have helped a lot of the kids that I've worked with. So when I was in the 5th grade, maybe, I was playing rec basketball. I was still in Charlotte. And my AAU coach, I told him we had tryouts.
For AAU?
Yeah, we had tryouts. This is tryouts. This is my 2nd year with this program. I'm on the team. I'm the starting point guard. Coach, I have a game at 12. I have to leave early. Okay. I got you. So when it came time for me to leave, the tryout was phenomenal. We were going back and forth. There was a lot of energy. So I said, hey, Coach, I'm getting ready to go. I got to leave. And he huddled everybody together and put me on the spot. He's like, what's more important to you?
This is 5th grade.
Yeah. He's like, this team right here, or you going to play some rec ball? And, I ended up staying and missing the game, and it was weird, I'm like in tears, like, you making me choose between.
Yeah, you're 10, 11 years old, right?
A tryout and an actual game. Like, I have guys on both sides.
Right.
So I felt kind of cornered into making that decision to stay. My guys, they end up winning the game anyway, which was kind of a relief for me that
Yeah, because you didn't want to let them down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I had a young lady that I'm working with a couple years ago. She comes to me, and as soon as kids start getting good, man, they just start coming. They just start poaching them from one team, trying to get them to another team, and it's unfortunate that happens in the game. Like, you're not, all you see is the product. You don't see the work that went into it. And she came to me and she said, "What should I do?" I said, "I'm loyal to a fault. So my advice would be to stay where you're at. Those are the people that have already invested in you, have been a part of your growth, and are excited about the next step for you. These people only want you because you're good. They weren't calling last year or the year before to get you, but they're calling now." So she ended up staying, and I think it was a really, really good decision for her to do that. And you see teams, they're like, "Oh, we got this player, they got this offer." So now this person falls as alumni to their program because they played a tournament with them.
Right.
And I just stay in my lane.
Yeah.
I don't coach a team. I just work with the players and the parents to get the best out of them.
Right. All right. So you became really good at basketball as you went through middle school and the high school, and then for your junior year, you end up leaving the United States of America.
Yeah. So, as a sixth grader in middle school, I beat out a lot of seventh and eighth graders, and I started all 3 years in middle school.
Which is unusual. Yeah.
Yeah. So, when I went to George Wythe, it wasn't, by happenstance. My older brother, Yusuf, was playing in a tournament at George Wythe, and I was just on the sideline shooting around, playing one-on-one with some kid, and I was just beating them to death, right?
And people were watching.
So Coach Booker, who was the head coach there, he walks all the way around the court. He comes over. He said, "You coming to play for me at George Wythe?" So at that time, we had actually moved out of the district.
You were in Huguenot's district.
I was in Huguenot's district, and but I had already applied for a program at George Wythe that my brother was in called the grad program. And the grad program kind of just put you in position academically to pursue those higher college opportunities. So that's how I ended up going to George Wythe. And I didn't play JV. I played varsity as a freshman.
How big were you your freshman year?
Size-wise?
Yeah.
Probably about 5'8", and about 140. Very light.
Yeah, little guy.
But Coach Booker saw enough in me to, bring me up to varsity from the beginning of my career. I didn't start early, but we had a starting point guard go down, so I started probably like 5 or 6 games, and played some really good minutes, and I just did what I did. I played hard, I played smart, and I ran the show. So I had a solid freshman year. Sophomore year was, of course, you want to improve, so I got a lot better. I think I made, the district team, one of the teams, first team or second team, I can't remember, but it was a solid showing.
Which a lot of sophomores don't make.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that summer, my freshman summer to my sophomore summer, I went to point guard college. And my mom and coach put the money together for me to go, and I went to the one in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And Dick DaVincio, who's passed, but he was the creator of the point guard college, was actually the director of the camp. So I had an opportunity to actually work with him directly, and it was really, really good for me to go to that, and I'm glad I went to that. Because, again, it's one of those experiences that affected me later on down the line. So at the end of the camp, he calls me up, and it's about 100 and so, 125 kids there. And he's like, "Lug man." So He likes he liked Luqman. So when I told him my name, he was a little disappointed. So, and he just tears me a new hole right there in front of everybody. Because that last game, I was just doing more than I needed to do. So he kind of tears me a new hole, and I'm like, whoa, like in front of everybody, like you could have pulled me to the side, and it was great. It was something I needed. It was a great lesson in just being truthful, and forward, and for me, it was taking that and growing from it. So I came back that 10th grade year with a different type of mindset and attitude and approach on how I wanted to lead and facilitate for my teammates. At that time, I was playing AAU. We had Richmond Metro Gold. So we had a really, really great team. Not a lot of stars, but a great team. Dominique Jones was one of my guys. We had some guys from collegiate. No really big names. And we would beat people to
because you were a good team.
We were a great team. And everybody knew their role. And we had a great coach. My coach was Will Rackley. Son came out of collegiate and played football at Brown. And he was tough. So it's kind of like all my coaches up until this point were tough. And, disciplinarians.
Looking back at it, it was good for you.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. So we had a great summer. I can't remember exactly where we went for the Nationals, but we were always, top 20 finishers in the national tournaments. So that summer of my sophomore year, going into my junior year, my father had a program that he was, taking some young men to Morocco to study Quran and Arabic and kind of immerse yourself in the culture. So originally, he was taking my younger brother, Ibrahim, and at that point, when he said that, I felt something kind of tug at me. It's like, I want to go. And I told him why I wanted to go. And I ran from Coach Booker all summer until I couldn't run anymore.
When did Coach Booker find out?
It's probably a few weeks before I was leaving. Because at this time, we were already doing summer workouts and stuff like that. And, I stopped going to the workouts and different things like that. I'm like, how you tell your coach you're leaving for a year?
Yeah, because you were setting up to have an amazing junior year, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And, at that time, like being recruited, it wasn't in my mind. What school I wanted to go to wasn't in my mind. None of those things mattered because I felt like the opportunity was bigger than anything those things could provide over my lifetime. And, when I finally talked to him, and he pretty much pleaded with me until I left to, stay and reconsider. But at that time, recruitment now, you see it everywhere. We got a showcase here. We got a showcase there.
Yeah, they're not even playing basketball. They're just showcasing. Yeah.
It's not even basketball anymore. It's just, showcasing. And we didn't have all those opportunities, the people to talk to directly about exactly what recruiting is and different things like that. So it's great. Some of it, I think, is a little oversaturated. The number of showcase events they have, because you have to think only 3.2% are going to go. So you're going to these showcases, 4 and 5 a year, and you're still not being recruited. You have to look at something, and normally you have to look in the mirror. So Morocco, we're in New York, and we're going to my uncle's house, I believe, before we go to the airport. We get in a car accident. So this van backs out into us, and fortunately nobody was hurt. It didn't delay anything. So we go to, we catch the flight, And Morocco is only like a 5.5, 6 hour flight from New York. So it's a pretty quick flight based on the other flights I've been on to Saudi and to Italy and different things like that. Egypt, it's 10, 12 hours.
Right.
That's a long time to be in the air. So we land and we're in Casablanca. And we are staying in a flat. And it's like I said, my father took about 10 to 12 guys. So it's about 10 to 12 of us in this flat. And we're kind of like all sleeping in like the living room. So nobody has a room. So we just kind of like bunched up for a month. And I was like, I told my dad, like, I am ready to go home. I can't, this is not what I expected, So we hadn't got set up yet. So we went out to Mohammedia, which is on the outskirts of Casablanca, and it's right on the water. And we went to visit the villa we were going to stay in. So the villa was like 3 stories, all these rooms, up and down. So it was really nice. So half of the group left to go back home. We couldn't handle it, whether they didn't pay or whatever. Half of them went home. The other half of us went to Mohammedia. When we got to Mohammedia, we got set up with the American Language Institute where we were studying Arabic. My father was teaching us Quran, and we had other teachers come in. And at that time, I was doing my studies as well, so I had a private tutor come in. And I believe the only class I was really studying was math. I didn't do any history, science, anything like that. So I was just really diving into my math. I was a really good math student. So the work, I wouldn't say it was easy, but I could recognize what I needed to do. And my teacher spoke, he spoke English enough for me to understand him. But some of the concepts in math, he wasn't able to articulate to me.
You need words to explain the numbers,
All right, so when I got back to math class, I'm like, what is my teacher talking about? When I got back to the States, I'm sitting there like, and then she does the problem. I'm like, oh, yeah, I know this stuff. And I'm just jotting it down, and I'm just kind of like flowing through the math classes now. So we're set up, and my father takes me to a practice. So he finds a team for me in Mohammedia, and I'm playing with them, and Ibrahim is also playing on the younger team there. And we're practicing outside, concrete.
There are no indoor gyms?
They do have indoor gyms, but our team specifically, we only had outdoor access. So practicing with the guys, a couple of the guys spoke English and stuff like that.
You're playing with Moroccans.
Yeah. So they only allow one American on the team. So I'm playing with Moroccans. And the very first game we play, it's outside and it's raining.
They don't stop the game.
It is pouring, all right? As long as there's no lightning, we're going to play.
It's just like how they do football, right?
Here and we're out there, and they're passing the ball, and I'm catching, and I'm stopping, and you just see the guy sliding by you. And it's like, we're really going to play this game. So we're playing the game in just pouring down rain. So, as a kid, like, those are things that
go stick with you.
My brothers and I would do, just like the blizzard in 96. I mean, we're outside. We got 3 layers of clothes. We got these triple goose jackets on. And we're outside, dunking the ball and different things like that. So it wasn't new to me. I was just shocked that we were going to actually play a real game pouring rain.
That's a different form of basketball.
So
there was wind too, right?
Man, that was just a crazy night. But the team was, we had some decent players. Of course, I was the focal point once I got there. And we didn't lose many games. The older team, which is the team underneath the kind of professional team, is who I played with. And we had a game, we had a championship game, and we were in Casablanca. And Casa, they had the dome and stuff. So
Sure.
they had indoor. So some of the places had indoor facilities where we were able to play in, and I mean it was amazing. So, and you can imagine that soccer crowd, that European soccer crowd, just hanging over the rails. They got flags.
They're into it as much as the players are.
Man, it was crazy. We end up losing that game, but I actually got MVP of the game for the way I played.
Which is unusual, not to name a Moroccan, probably. I'm guessing.
Yeah. So it was pretty cool. I mean, they gave us a medal, but we continued to play on. So we were traveling around, kind of like a playoff format, playing different teams, traveling to the different cities. So that was really a bonus to my trip, was to be able to play and to travel and just see different parts of Morocco. And I really fell in love with the country. And I'm trying to get back, take my wife to see it and different things like that. Take the kids over and just let them enjoy it. I also played on the team underneath, and we actually won our championship.
With your brother? Was it that
No,
team?
so my brother's 3 years younger than I.
Okay, gotcha.
So I played with the team that was my age group, but I was playing with my age group and the higher level team. So I got a double dose. I played a lot of games while I was over there.
Did it make you a better basketball player?
Yes, absolutely. So we were headed to the Final Four, and I had to come back home. So I didn't finish the season there.
Oh, that's brutal.
But, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So it's just part of the journey, and that's probably one championship that escaped me.
You said water near Mohammedia. Was that the Mediterranean or was that the Atlantic Ocean? I don't know where Mohammedia is relative
That
to.
was the Atlantic.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually took a trip where the Mediterranean and the Atlantic
Come together.
come together. So we took a trip and we stayed there for about a week just on the beach, kind of.
Cool as can be, right?
Yeah. So that was early on. But the relationships there, man, I still talk to a lot of the guys that were on the team, and they still say I was the best basketball player to come to Morocco. So I feel comfortable going back knowing that, they still have that type of affinity towards me, and I won't feel out of place.
That's great.
So coming back, I think everybody was happy. Coach Booker was happy. My mom was happy. And like when my mom came, she just brought a suitcase full of all these recruitment letters. I'm just like, whoa, right?
So people were keeping track of you in Morocco.
Yeah. So they were already sending mail to the house because, I had a great summer on the AAU circuit and, finished out strong. So they just a ton of letters. She brought a whole suitcase over. So when I got back, I'm like, yeah, this is all right. I like this. So coming back, we were right into summer workouts. So I was living, quite a ways from George Wolf now because now I'm in, a different district. And, I mean, some days we will walk, down Hall Street, Belt Boulevard.
That's not a quick walk.
Not a quick walk at all. So, of course, we would have to leave early. And Coach would always kind of, bring us home, or my mom would pick us up. Or, my teammates' mom would pick us up. So we would always find our way back home. But at that time, I think as kids, I mean, it was great. I mean, you can go out and you can walk, and it wasn't a whole lot to worry about,
right?
Like it is nowadays. But going into the season, everybody felt really, really good. So actually, before the season, I got back with my AE club, so I'm playing with them. We go to Orlando, so this is the first time I'm playing with them since I've been gone. And the first game I come out, and I'm like, Coach starts me. I'm like, whoa, okay. So I'm really hesitant to, like, do what I've been doing the last, 8 or 9 months in Morocco. So, like, I've been just shooting the ball, taking over a game. So I'm like, I haven't played with them all year, so I don't want to do that. So I play really hesitant, and Coach Rackley just, man, he just fires off on me like you need to play. And he didn't have to say it anymore. He didn't have to say it anymore. I had a phenomenal tournament. We were playing at Disney, and had some phenomenal games down there. So coming into the season, I felt like I can be this player I've become. And we had some really solid pieces around me. We stuck together. We hung out all summer. We hung out during, preseason. Guys would spend the night at my house. We would eat together, everything. We'd go out together. We did everything together. So when we got on the basketball court, it just made it work because we had that relationship. And they allowed me to lead. And, we had a great year, 26-2. That last game, going into that state game, I had the flu for the whole week. So, didn't touch a basketball at all.
No energy going into that game.
Zero.
Yeah.
So I was kind of in and out of the game, trying to get fluids in me. I was in the locker room for a stretch. I was back out. And, man, we were 3 seconds away from going to the next round. Well, I feel like if we would have got to that next round, we definitely would have won the state championship.
Because you would have been healthy again.
Absolutely. So I had guarded probably one of the most prolific scorers in the country that year, Val Brown. He was averaging probably like 30-something plus points a game. He ended up going to George Washington. And, I would say I shut him down. He didn't get a third of what he normally gets. And I was sick. So if that's the win I take from, but that game, it hurt.
You came down to a last-second shot.
Man, it's about 70 feet away.
And they made it. Oh, my gosh.
70 feet away. And it's nothing you can do about it.
That's the end of your high school basketball.
That's the end of my high school career. It's like, wow, like this. So, I know, like, they talk about mental health now, but before, it wasn't something they talked about in the past, and I really needed somebody to, like, really talk to about kind of that experience, because it hurt on a whole different level when you kind of just right there and it's snatched away from you. And I was like kind of just ghosting through the rest of the school year,
right.
And it just didn't seem like anybody heard me, kind of reaching out. And I kind of took that with me into my first year of school at Virginia State. So I ended up...
Oh, you went to state first.
So, yeah. So, like I told you before, I was being heavily recruited by a lot of Division I programs. A lot of different coaches I spoke to about sending the information, different things like that I never received. So this is kind of like a turning point in that moment where I needed help. And I ended up, the head coach, Coach Booker, took the job at Virginia State. Okay, so once that, I guess, was in play for him, my recruiting hit a wall. So even the coaches that I was talking to that were sending information, I never received. Right? I never received it. Never received it. So my teammates was like, Luke, man, coach got a lot of letters in the office for you. You got this, that, and the third. And I go to the office, nothing. He would give me nothing.
Because he wanted you at Virginia State.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I would conclude.
I mean, I think that's what we have to conclude, right?
Yeah. But, and again, I didn't have, my mom and dad weren't like involved in any type of recruiting process.
Well, they didn't know anything
I would have
either,
been the
right?
first one. I was, the first child to be recruited to college to play sports. So, I mean, nobody knew. I didn't know. And that summer, so I committed to Virginia State. I'm going to Virginia State. All right, so that summer, I ran into one of the boosters from Division I school that had been coming to the school, sitting in the office with me and Coach and talking to us about coming to their school. So he saw me at summer league game, just finished playing, comes up to me, "Hey Jabber, where have you been at?" He's like, "I've been calling Coach, I've been sending letters, this, that, and the third." I said, "I don't know anything about that." And that's kind of that moment I put 2 and 2 together. And I was already not happy because we lost the way we lost. And that right there just kind of like the perfect storm. So I went to Virginia State that first year and I was just angry, you know, because I felt like the people I'm supposed to be able to trust the most, you know, didn't treat me fairly, you know, didn't give me the opportunity to make my own decision, kind of backed me in a corner to make a decision only to benefit what they had planned. So I wasn't the greatest, mind you, I graduated with a 3.5 GPA, you know, all these academic awards. So I wasn't dumb by any means.
You could have gone to any school in the country.
I could have gone to any school. You know, I had the SAT scores, I had the GPA. You know, I didn't meet the requirement. I beat the requirement to do those things. And I went to Virginia State. Probably like 2 weeks in, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't even want to be here right now. So I'm going through the season, not starting. I'm playing some meaningful minutes, but not the minutes I should play based on how I practice and how I'm, you know, contributing, not just based on who I am. And we're running Coach's system. Who knows it better than me? I've been running it, you know, for the last 3 years. Like, give me the opportunity to do that. So we struggled. I struggled connecting with the guys. I think they just saw me as Coach's boy. And that team was really, you know, really good guys, but they were on this seniority kick. It wasn't, to me, about like winning and leadership. And I always tell the kids I work with, it's really no age on leadership if you understand the mission and you know how to get it done. Like, people should listen. And I just felt disconnected from the whole group. And it was a struggle to the point where at the end of the first semester, I left and I went to stay with my mom in New Jersey. So after I graduated, they picked up, they moved to New Jersey. So that's how
your younger brother and
yeah. So it was just him and my sister and my mom and dad picked up, boom, New Jersey. So now I really don't have anybody that like I can, you know, reach out to immediately. So I'm in New Jersey. I'm kind of just there. My father's working in the city. Some days I go to the city, I work with him. But for the most part, I'm just there. And Coach is calling my moms and, you know, come back to school. He's calling me, come back to school. And I'm like, So I get to a point where I decide I'm going to come back. I'm going to finish out the year. And I come back, and it's kind of just more of the same. I do end up starting a few games after I get back. And, you know, the culture is still the same. And the energy is still the same. So we get to the tournament, we're playing St. Aug, and I think we end up losing by like 8 or 10 points. But before the game was over, they had backed the bus in. We were on the bus all the way back. So I think we left that morning or something like that, or the night before, and we were back to school that next day before the sun went down. We didn't even get to stay the night.
That's a quick trip.
So I probably stayed at school for another couple of weeks before I just, you know, my brother was here in Richmond and my stepmom, so I just kind of got with my brother And we just kind of just started hanging out, moving around and stuff like that. And I did not go back to Virginia State. So that summer, during summer league, I actually met the young lady that would become my wife. So she kind of like, listen. I think she heard me. And
you needed somebody to listen.
Yeah, and she gave me exactly what I needed. So the next summer I got married.
Oh, wow.
The next summer after that I got married. And I believe it was 2000. So this would be 21 years old, 2001, yeah.
You're a young man.
Mm-hmm. But I think, we plan and God makes plans, and I think his plans are better for us if only we knew. So I think the things that I went through were to be used later in life to help someone else. So, we got married. I was out of school 2 years. And at that time, that's when I was playing in those leagues. I was playing with Lionel and stuff like that in different leagues. So we kind of had our squad where we were moving around to different leagues, just beating people to death, winning championships. So that was super cool, super fun. And then, spending the summers at Union. They had a kind of a down year the year before I came in, not to standards. I wouldn't say it was down. I would just say it wasn't up to standards. It wasn't a banner year. And so I came in.
Banner year means something to you. Yeah.
And Coach Robbins and I had a conversation, and I said, let's make it happen. So, but in between that, I had also talked to Hampton about coming out to Hampton. And that time they had a changeover in the coaching staff, and the assistant coach, Bobby Collins, had become the head coach. I called Bobby. I said, hey, Coach, what does your recruiting look like? I want to come down, get a workout, this, that, and the third. And I was telling him about, the compliance rules. So at this time, I'm coming back to school, and I didn't have the grades to be eligible, but they have some loopholes, I would say.
You didn't have the grades because of your time at Virginia State.
Right.
Yeah.
But because I had been out 2 years, I could use kind of like a restart to come in and play right away. He wasn't up on the rules. It was moving slow. I found my way back to Virginia. All right. So, and that was a completely different situation as far as the guys. Really felt welcome. They allowed me to lead, even though this is my first year with them. But a lot of the guys I played in summer league and pro-am with and stuff like that, and just playing with them in the summer, so they kind of knew what I could bring to the table. And it just worked. It just worked. We fell short in the CIAA championship game. 1 point. 1 point. We were one rebound, one defensive rebound away from just closing the deal. We played Bowie State. At that time, had a couple of D1 transfers and stuff like that. They were really, really good that year. And we're under a minute. They shoot, miss, get the rebound that we needed. Got John Smith. He was a transfer from Virginia Tech. Hits a baseline jump shot. Pew.
Game's over.
We get a possession. We get a play. Coach actually draws a play up for me. Had somebody different taking the ball out because I was having a really, good, solid game. So he calls the play for me. Because if I'm not open, I'm going to make the right decision. And my guy doesn't get it in. Timeout. So I'm now taking the ball out. So I throw the ball in to Wayne Wallace. Wayne is Ben's nephew. Wayne's about 6'10", skinny, jumping jack. He catches it. Throws a shovel pass. Ball hits the guy in the chest. Just misses it. We've run this play a million times. And had he caught it, he had a wide open lane. They recovered the ball. We foul. Ball game. Yeah. So disappointment. The great thing was we were able to advance to the NCAA tournament. We got to the and actually Coach Robbins had to have triple bypass heart surgery, so he didn't go with us. And Coach Coker took us down. We played at Columbus State, but we played Kennesaw State in the first round. So we're up at halftime 11 by 11, and we end up losing that game, under 10. So that was that season. The next year, it's officially my team. It was my team, but that year was officially my team. And Terry Davis came on. Well, he actually came on the year before, but he became more of a advocate for me. If anybody got something to say to Luke, say it to me first. And our relationship got stronger because the first time I played with Terry, Terry's an NBA guy. He's posting up. I throw a behind the back pass to him, and he doesn't catch it. And he's just cursing me out. Why would you throw a behind the back pass? And this is, kind of the beginning of our relationship because he didn't know me and I didn't know Terry. And I was like, all right, dude, it's good. We all right, we good. So we end up kind of like winning the day out. When you play in the open runs, we winning the day out. And so from there, we just had real conversations about the game of basketball, the game of life. And Terry, his son, Ed Davis, is still in the league. I saw him sitting with, I think he's with Cleveland now. But
does it make you feel old?
Kind of, because Ed grew up in Barco Stevens Hall, where he was old enough to play with us. All the big guys were trying to, punish him and make it difficult for him. But I think that just helped him in the long
absolutely.
run because it was a double machine in high school. And Terry would always, reference him. It's like, talking to one of the post players. My son Ed, he had 30 points, 20 rebounds, 12 blocks. What's your excuse? So the season, sophomore season, junior season was pretty good. We had a pretty good year. I think we only lost probably like 4 or 5 games, and we won the CIAA tournament. At that time, those 3 years at Union, Bowie State was kind of our nemesis. Virginia State is always Union's rivalry, but Bowie is the nemesis. And they always come with size, height, and grit. Always.
They're going to beat you up.
Yeah. So we had lost to them twice that year going into the tournament, and they got upset. We took care of business. So everybody's like, Virginia Union Bowie, championship again. They get upset. And we play North Carolina Central. So North Carolina Central has a 6'10", 6'11". Our two starting, our 4 and 5 starters were 6'4" and 6'5".
Yeah.
And our tallest guy, DeJuan Crockett, was 6'7", but he played on the wing, 6'7", about 125. But he can give you 25 and 30 if you don't watch him.
Right.
And we played them in it was a really good game. They had a couple guys kind of get some looks at the NBA. Kid David Young and kid Jonathan Moore, who was a transfer from East Carolina. So they were really good. They had a nice shooter. Kid's name was Curtis. It's not Staples. I can't remember his last name. But he could shoot the lights out the gym. So it was really, really good. We made a defensive stand probably those last 3 minutes to close out the win. And we played it in Raleigh, the home of Central. So the newspaper the next day looked more like an obituary than a celebration of champions.
Was this CIAA or the national?
CIAA.
Yeah.
So we get to the national tournament, and we are now playing at Kennesaw. So the year before we were at Columbus State playing Kennesaw. Now we're at Kennesaw playing Columbus State. And they came out running. I mean, we were probably down like 16-4. And all 16 were like fast break points. Pass, layup, alley-oops. And I'm just screaming at my guys like, we got to get back. So I'm like on 3-on-1s, 5-on-3. I mean, they're just running. So we kind of settle, get back into our groove, start playing some really good basketball. I kind of took over the game a little bit, and we were rolling. So we got into the last 30 seconds, and we're up. They have the ball. They try to get a shot. Boom, boom, boom. Work the clock down. Ball ends up going out of bounds. Their ball. So they're taking the ball out, probably like 16 seconds left, and we have some size on the ball to make him throw high. So the guy throws the ball in, and kid probably about 5'8", 5'9", he just goes up, and his arms just stretch, and he grabs the ball, takes one bounce in the corner, and kind of like falls out of bounds, shoots the three. Money. So we get the possession. We get it down. We call a timeout at half court. Coach draws a play up for me. So, again, we don't get it in. Timeout. Now I'm taking the ball out again. Right? So these are games where I really, really have it going. And you just know, like, when you have it going, if you get the opportunity, some good things can happen. So we end up getting a really, really tough shot and losing that game. So it's back-to-back years where it's just like CIAA tournament. You lose, you get to the tournament, you feel like you're about to break through, you drop that game. And it was a tough one. It was a tough one because I think we played well enough to win. We just didn't make the play at the end. Yeah, so it's tough. And the kid that made that shot, he injured himself on that play and didn't even play the next game.
And they would have needed him. They would have loved to have that.
Right.
Yeah.
And he was one of the top players. And he injured himself making that play happen. Yeah, so we get to the next year, and it's like feeling pretty good. We have everybody back. Darius Hargrove, DeJuan Crockett, Ralph Brown, Antoine Walton. We had Arthur Kidd, who was a sharpshooter. Arthur would come in cold and give you 3 straight threes. I mean, just like that. But this kid would show up at Barco at 5 o'clock in the morning with a gallon of water, and we get 500 shots in.
It works.
Every day. And he had started the year before. The next year he didn't start. But he played significant minutes for us. We started off on fire, ended up rising to number 1 in the country. Got to Winston-Salem. We had a bad game after the break. So that was our first loss. And then, we picked it back up, won a few more in a row. Ran into Bowie. We lost. We lost to Bowie twice that year. And we lost to North Carolina Central. So when we got to the tournament, it was still, everybody's like, Union, Bowie. Bowie gets upset again. So we ended up playing Fayetteville State in the championship. And, we just beat them pretty good, from start to finish. I don't think with the mentality we had that we felt threatened. We just knew that if we came out, played hard, and did what we were supposed to do, it was a 15, 20-point game. And that's just the confidence we went in with. So we get back to the tournament. We're in the regionals, and Bowie State is hosting.
So you've got to go through them.
We will have to go through them if we want to get to the national championship. So the first game we come out, we're playing Catawba. Catawba comes out running. We come out flat. So they're up 22-2.
Oh, my gosh.
It's 15 minutes. Only 5 minutes gone. They're up 22-2. Coach Robinson takes a timeout, and he's just He's just laying it on us. So we respond out of the timeout. I think I get a couple steals kind of like right away, like back-to-back steals, back-to-back layups. Crockett hits a three. A lot of things start to go well for us, and we go into halftime only down 3. And then the second half, we just come out and we just play union basketball. And, we take care of business. The second game we come out, we play USC Aiken, and that was probably the most complete start-to-finish game we played. And Bowie's winning on their side as well. So we have Bowie State in the regional championship to go to the NCAA tournament. All right, so this is my last year. Right now, they own the record against me. This is the nemesis, the thorn in the side. And when we get there, I mean, it's a playoff atmosphere.
Oh, I bet.
We have the lines. People just lined up outside of the gym, standing room only. Bowie State has their band that's just always rocking. And you have these charter buses. And it's like, whoa. So Bowie State's players are in the crowd. They're just like chilling. Like, yeah, we got this one in the bag. And you're like, wow, that's, all right, cool. So we come out and we start the game off 2-0, 2 free throws. Because at that time, they didn't allow dunking in warm-ups. So they're dunking in warm-ups. So I get the first 2 points of the game. And we're just, from that point, we're rolling. So we're up. We're handily, between 15 and 17 points the whole half. We come out of halftime to officiate. Officiating makes it a little bit tighter down the stretch, but we end up winning by 6 or 7 points. And it felt really good to cut down the nets at Bowie State.
At their court,
yeah. So we had an opportunity. We took advantage of it. We didn't take it lightly. And that's, something I teach my kids. Sometimes I have a high schooler with a middle schooler. I said, don't take it easy on him. Because he's going to talk about it.
Yeah.
And you can't look at your opponent and say, I got this. You have to do the work. So we were excited. We got a free trip to North Dakota.
How many teams go to North Dakota?
8. Okay. So we're at their Elite 8, and we're at their little conference with all the teams, and have the different coaches come up and talk, and everybody's praising Coach Robbins. Coach Robbins is a great coach, this, that, and the third. And, but we know they want to beat us. So we come out. And, Coach, we never watch film on the other teams.
That's unusual.
We only watch film to see what we could do better. But this particular team, Metro State, had just went like 21 for 25 from the three-point line in their regional championship game.
It's hard to beat a team that does that.
Yeah. So we definitely watched that film. But we came out, we stuck to the game plan. We pretty much just ran him off the three-point line. My job was to make it tough on the point guard to get into his sets and where he wants to go. So everybody did their job, and I think it was like a 15-point walk-away game. And then the second game we played Lynn University out of Florida, and they were a really good team. Their point guard was, I really, enjoyed watching him play. But he had some telltales that I kind of picked up watching them, and I was able to kind of exploit that in the second game. So that was probably my best game of the tournament. I think I had like 19 points, 6 steals, another 4 or 5 assists. And one of the plays, when they get 10 seconds on the shot clock, he does head tap because he wants screen. So I'm telling my teammate, Ralph, which is also my roommate, tomorrow night, I got it. Just watch it. So he goes, head tap. I'm looking at the shot clock on the other end at our basket, and I can feel the big guy coming up to set the screen. And I just dart. I take the ball the other way and lay it up. I'm like, yes. So we end up beating them by about 15 points as well. And then coming to the championship game, we had a day between to do like community service and stuff like that. So we did like a little mini basketball clinic. We visited some elementary schools and stuff like that. And the night going into the championship game was, well, couldn't sleep.
Of course not.
And it was an early game. So I think the game was at like 2 o'clock, something like that. It was an early game, so it's like, whew. So everybody comes in and you jacked up, but at the same time, you didn't sleep last night. So both teams came out flat, trying to find their way. So it was pretty even going into halftime.
Who were you playing?
Bryant University out of Massachusetts. And so it was a good game. The point guard was averaging probably like 26 a game. Coming into the Elite Eight, and the 2 games he played, he probably had his average. So, I knew going into that game that was my focus. Run the team, shut him down. So he probably ended up with like 6-8 points for the game. So
you did your job.
I caused a lot of stress on his part. And I just was active. I wasn't even really looking to score. I just really wanted to disrupt their offense. And, I had Darius Hargrove on one side. I had DeJuan Crockett on the other side. Antoine Walton, who was the tournament MVP, he had 19 and like 13. And I think out of the 13 rebounds, 12 were offensive. He really put us on his back as far as second chance opportunities and putting the ball in the basket. And he had a nice 3-point play to give us the lead in the last minute and a half of the game. Darius, who was the following year was the D2 Player of the Year, didn't have a great game. But Arthur Kidd came in and hit some big threes, some really big threes. And, he was a starter the year before, so we knew what we can get out of him. And it's just like he comes in, I was like, Arthur, all right, I got your number. So I call his number right away. We don't wait for a trip up and down. Like, we get him right into it, and he came through for us. So they had a kid that wasn't on the scouting report, of course. It's always those kids that come out, and he's just lighting it up. Like, who is this guy? I mean, he's hitting threes after threes after threes. I think he finished with like 20-something points. And we had the lead. They had a possession. And they were working the ball around trying to get this kid another look. So we're running them off the 3-point line. So another kid shoots it, hits hard, bounces long. So I'm going at the rebound, and Ralph is going at the rebound. So I feel like I have it. But all big man is mine. So he comes in, he knocks me off the ball. They end up getting the ball in a tie-up and a timeout. So they make a couple of substitutions. We stay out on the court. So, so everything that's happened in the past is now resurfacing. I'm in my mind, I'm like, I have to make a play. They cannot get a shot off. I've seen too many shots in the last, 12 to 15 seconds that went the other way. So the guy comes in, he's like 6'8". I guess he was supposed to be an additional shooter, but he catches it in the corner. He holds it over his head, doesn't look like he wants to shoot it. He pumps it. I fake. He throws it. I jump up. I snatch it out the air, go to the ground. They foul me. I'm going to the free throw line. So at this time, I'm like number 4 in the country in steals, and I'm number 1 in the country in free throw shooting. So I'm shooting 90%. So I'm going to the free throw line. We're up 3. The first one kind of rattles in. Second one, it's just celebration. And I mean, going to the free throw line for me was phenomenal because my teammates were already celebrating the win.
Were you nervous at all?
Not at all.
Why is that? You just shot so many free throws?
I've shot so many free throws. I was injured one point during the year, and we were practicing at VCU, and I think I went from 98 for 100. But I hit 92 straight.
I couldn't hit 98 out of 250.
Like, I hit 92 straight before I missed while they were practicing. So I didn't feel, I mean, at that point, like, any nerves, it's going to fall back to what you've been working on.
Yeah.
So I just felt that first one went in, it was like, yes, it's out of reach. That second one, I don't touch the bottom of the net. So, and that was, man, that was great because that was the goal.
And you guys are brothers for life, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We still talk. Great relationships. A number of us, went on to play, professionally, overseas in the States, wherever they could get paid to play. So.
Did the NBA look at you?
Yeah, I didn't get any workouts, but I had some looks. So I participated in the PITs, which is kind of like the second tier of top college players, I guess, nowadays. But before, the Portsmouth Invitational Tournament, all the top college players went there and participated in it, and all the NBA executives and overseas. Like, I mean, it's a show. It's a show. So I think for me, just having the right agency represent me kind of was, the misstep. I went with somebody brand new who really didn't have relationships.
They matter.
In the industry.
Yeah, they matter.
So it matters. So, but again, it's my journey. The decisions I make, put me in position for things later on in life. So,
all right, I got 3 more things for you. Let's real quickly talk about what it was like being in Saudi Arabia.
Okay, so in Saudi Arabia, it was kind of like a lifelong dream that came true. So in 6th grade, I wrote a letter in PE class, and I told my teacher that I wanted to go to Saudi Arabia to make pilgrimage and to live for a little while. And from that point on, she always, every time she saw me, she said, "I'm still waiting to win the lottery to send you to Saudi Arabia." So I had the opportunity to go to Saudi Arabia for free, and nobody had to pay for it, and I got paid to go.
And they were paying you to play basketball.
Yep. So I was actually playing for the team in Mecca. So
that's where the pilgrimage starts, right?
That's where it all starts. So the Kaaba, which is the centerpiece, is I probably stayed 2 blocks from it, so I can get up, walk down there, and be in peace, and pray and relax, every single day.
Yeah.
So it was really, really nice. I like Saudi Arabia. Mecca itself is it's still traditional. But outside of Mecca, like Jeddah and Riyadh, which is the capital, it's super Western. So it's like Applebee's and Fridays and McDonald's.
It's crazy to think about.
It's Olive Garden. So I didn't have to worry about what I was eating because I don't eat pork. So everything was kind of, I can get anything I wanted. So it was nice. The team I played for hadn't been a winning team. The first year, we were 1 game from going to kind of like the Big 8 playoff series. And then when I came back the next year, we made it into the playoffs, and we were 1 game from going to the Final Four. And Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf was playing for one of the teams out there. If you remember Chris Jackson.
Oh, yeah. Played at LSU with Shaq, right?
Yeah. So he was on a team out there, so I had an opportunity to spend some time talking to him about, kind of his journey and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He was awesome.
He was, and he could still shoot it.
I bet. Because he's what, got to be 50 now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's up there.
Yeah.
He's still doing some things in the Big 3.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
It's pretty cool. All right, this is going to be a completely different, weird kind of question for you, but we tend to ask this at the end. You're now the host of your own talk show. You get to invite a male guest, a female guest, a musical group, and if you like comedy, a comedian.
All right.
It can be dead. They can be dead. They can be people you know personally. They can be famous. Mm-hmm. They can be historical figures. Whatever you want it to be.
Yeah. So, I would definitely like to have Grant Hill on the show. Grant Hill was my guy growing up. I just loved the way he played the game. I was a Duke fan. He played both sides of the ball. He played smart. When he didn't have it going, you wouldn't know because of the energy he kept on the court. So that would be my guy to have. And I actually had the chance to meet him once.
He's a really smart, thoughtful guy too.
Yeah, my grandfather who passed, I would definitely have him on the show. So my grandfather was, he was a community activist in the Newark area in New Jersey. He's probably mostly famous for doing the burial for Malcolm X. So when Malcolm X passed, he was kind of an untouchable person for anybody to step in and do anything like that. And during that moment, you know, he received like death threats and different things like that.
Those were crazy times back then.
And so he was actually preparing to bury Malcolm and also preparing for his own funeral, you would say, because of, you know, the heat that was around it. So I would love, you know, for him to tell that story. So he wrote a book about it, but just, you know, as a young kid sitting in his company and hearing him tell stories, it's just, you know, it's just different, a different feeling around that. So my grandfather, Hisham Jabber.
It's a good guess. What about your female guest?
Female guest. So right now, I would say Taja Cole. Taja Cole is one of the first individuals that I trained. She's a L.C. Bird graduate, McDonald's All-American, Jordan Brand All-American, and she has currently signed a contract to the Connecticut Suns for a training camp, and hopefully she'll, you know, achieve her dream of actually, you know, playing in the WNBA. So her story is very unique and phenomenal, and some of the things she went through to get to where she is I think it's worthy of hearing.
And she grew up here, went to L.C. Bird.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
She's playing within the AU sports, AU hoops. So it's a women's kind of like 4-team league where they're trying to get more exposure to WNBA and high-profile overseas jobs. So I think a weekend she got an invite to sign a contract with the Connecticut Suns, among other teams. But
that's cool.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
So, yeah, and we started in the driveway.
That's cool. That's awesome. What about your musical group?
I would say
this is meant to be revealing.
I know. Musical group. So I was a big Fat Boys fan. So when I was probably about 6 or 7, I found a tape just tossed in the woods, and it was the Fat Boys, and I would play it until it popped. But I would say the Wu-Tang Clan.
All right, you're not the first one to say that.
And I say that I watched their series on Hulu, I think, and it was just very revealing, the confrontations that they all had with each other and how they made it work. You know what I mean? I think that's a valuable lesson that, you know, that they kind of just cope over it. They don't really go deep into how they made it work. So I think in the society we live in, when people are always at each other, like, how do you get past it to become successful? So
they figured it out.
They figured it out.
All very creative people.
Yeah.
All proud of their own creativities. But
Right.
They figure out how to come together and make it happen.
Absolutely.
Are you a fan of comedy?
Yes.
Right. Who's your favorite comedian?
Oh, man.
Or who would you have on your show, I should say?
I would have Dave Chappelle on my show.
I think he's he's probably the smartest comedian that's ever lived.
Yes. He's very, very clever in how he delivers his material. So I would definitely have Dave Chappelle.
His timing is fantastic. His material is off the chart.
Oh, my goodness.
Cool. All right, let's end with talking about your family, your wife and your kids.
Oh, man. So 2022, July, 21 years with my wife. We have 5 children. My oldest daughter, Tyandria. Well, my wife's name is Delores, first of all. Our oldest is Tyandria, and she's into music and theater. So she's been in a lot of productions here in Richmond. She goes to school at Sarah Lawrence College in New York, and she just hosted her own cabaret show in New York. which she did a phenomenal job with. Not saying that just because I'm dad,
but you got to check it out.
Oh yeah, so we went up for that.
Yeah, that's great.
It's very, very nice event. My oldest son, Mikael is at the apprentice school in Newport News. So he's playing basketball there, and he's in the moldering program. So he's learning a trade and gets to play, although he's not playing as much as I think he should and as he think he should. But this is part of his journey, and he has to keep doing the work if he wants to see the results he wants to receive. And then Yasmin is a young writer. She's at Bennington College in Vermont. She published a children's book when she was 14. So right before she went into high school, she was in a program with Richmond Young Writers, and she actually wrote a children's book. So,
that's really cool.
But she does poetry, spoken word. She's writing her little memoir now. All the kids are talented in their own way. And then I have a middle schooler, Amira. Amira is very involved in coding through the different languages and different things like that. So really excited to see what her future holds. And then Ijaz is my baby boy. He's 10, and he's basketball and he's video games. And out of all of them, he's just kiddie. Like, he's super kid at 10. I don't know if any of them were like him as far as his energy. He's very vibrant. If you meet him, like, you guys hit it off because he'll have you laughing right away.
Is he going to be your basketball player, or is he going to be the next Dave Chappelle?
I don't know, because he's also learning to play the piano. My oldest daughter is teaching him, so he does private lessons with his sister, and he also does voice. So he'll be multi-talented.
He can go in a lot of directions.
So I won't push him any direction, just whichever direction he needs help in.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Luqman, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really do appreciate you coming out.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. I appreciate the invite. This is great. I had a great time.
Yeah, I did too.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd also really appreciate if you'd rate and review us. You can find us at scodupodcast.com.